Well, welcome to the Antilles Episcopal Conference Facebook Live, and welcome to our conversation with the President of the Antilles Episcopal Conference, Bishop Gabriel Malzaire, also Bishop of the Diocese of Roseau, Dominica. Welcome to our Facebook Live, Bishop.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Father Don.
And so to our listeners, those who have joined us on Facebook Live for this conversation, the Bishops of the Antilles Episcopal Conference has just concluded its annual plenary meeting. In fact, today was the last session. So we have our president with us to talk about the annual plenary meeting. But before we get deep into the conversation, Bishop, can you tell our listeners what is the annual plenary meeting of the Antilles Episcopal Conference, and what is the purpose of this annual plenary meeting?
I think the easiest way of helping people to understand it is comparing it with any organization which has an annual general meeting. So annual plenary meeting means the same as an annual general meeting for our conference. And of course, at that conference, we deal with every conceivable thing that pertains to the mission of the bishops as a conference in the Caribbean. So we deal with various issues, things of liturgy, of pastoral work, of finances, anything that pertains to the running of the dioceses as they are, and as we wish them to be, because of course it is an opportunity for us to envision how we want the various dioceses to be in the Caribbean individually and of course collectively as a whole.
And I think it will be helpful to share with our listeners that normally the annual plenary meeting would take place in a physically face-to-face in a particular diocese. You normally move from diocese to diocese every year, but this year and last year there was a difference with the pandemic. Tell us about that difference.
I suppose the reason for this is obvious to everybody. Last year was the first time we had the plenary meeting virtually via Zoom, and this year again we did the same. In fact, both years we were intending to visit Antigua, the Diocese of St. John's Bastia, but because of the pandemic, we were unable to do so. In fact, when we thought of doing so, we thought that, we would be losing something by having, all these discussions on Zoom or virtually. But in estimation, we really lose nothing. Everything went as clockwork. And in fact, it is quite an attractive method in the sense that you don't have the hassle of an airport. You don't have the various places. The only disadvantage I see there is the fact that the conviviality, the meeting together, and of course having a little drink together and so on and so forth, and enjoying the moment together. But I think Zoom is a good replacement.
And so the bishops are hoping next year around the same time to have it face to face, God willing.
We hope so. We hope so.
Great. So the annual plenary meeting began on Sunday, April 18th, and finished today, Friday, April 23. And what were some of the highlights of this annual plenary meeting of the bishops of the Antilles Episcopal Conference?
I would say, first of all, we began with a retreat day that was, facilitated by Father Timothy Radcliffe, quite a famous priest, a Dominican from the Order of Preachers, who led us into the topics, at least on the first day, looking at the discovering God's providence in this time of pandemic. It was certainly topical and very appropriate for us to reflect on. And the second moment, he spoke about keeping hope alive, which was very significant for us to reflect on even in this time of pandemic. On the second day, Monday, we had a study day on a very similar topic, witnessing to the gospel today, breathing God's living breath in the time of pandemic. Again, it focused on the question of giving hope to our region. In a time of difficulty, how do we minister to our people? So these were the questions that we had to face. And I think it went very, very well, very informative. Father Ratcliffe certainly is a very experienced retreat master. And I think most of all the bishops had great things to say about the outcome of the retreat. So that's the first thing. Then, of course, in the normal business days that followed from the Tuesday, one of the highlights of the plenary meeting was the amalgamation of the commissions that existed in the AEC. The conference used to have 14 commissions. That means it was headed by various bishops, and of course, along with the bishop, the chairperson of that commission, were two other bishops to accompany him in being part of that commission. And there were 14 of them. And we have only 19 dioceses in the region. So which means that there was a depletion. I mean, there was a dearth in our capability of manning all those commissions adequately. So what we have been reflecting on for the past couple of years is how to amalgamate those commissions to make them fewer and, of course, with greater capability for working together. So these were major things, steps, I think, that we achieved during this. So instead of the 14 commissions, it was reduced to 9 commissions. So we have right now 9 commissions, and they are such as the new evangelization, then family life, communications, divine worship and ministry, ecumenism and interreligious dialogue, youth and vocation, a commission for promoting integral human development, and doctrine and faith formation, and of course, finances. So these are the 9 commissions that we amalgamated, we brought from 14 to 9.
Yes. I'd like to revisit, let us go back to the spiritual day and the study day of the conference. Just listening to you, it would appear to me that the spiritual day and the study day offers a very good foundation to prepare the bishops to go into business. Was there any particular insight, any particular idea, either on the retreat day or the study day, that touched you personally and touched your ministry as pastor of the people of God in the Diocese of Roseau and as president? Was there any particular moment on that retreat day, an insight given by Father Timothy Radcliffe, OP, that struck a chord in you and really inspired and empowered you?
I think the topic, the focus on hope for the Caribbean was one of the things that I think was very key in trying to understand how best we can sustain hope, because of course it is a time that people tend to have become despondent, especially in moments of crisis such as what we have today. We have all kinds of conspiracy theories frightening people and keeping them or derailing them from having a picture of a positive future. I think the retreat really helped us to keep hope alive, to keep hope alive, because I mean, it is not the first time that the world is experiencing pandemic, and being a leader in this era is a charge in itself, and of course, there are great expectations of us as leaders. How do we keep people believing? How do we keep people wanting to serve and to be in such a way that the Lord is revealed through them? I
And
think
that,
they,
that and that must have been really empowering and inspiring and a booster
certainly,
spiritually and emotionally for the bishops to go into the business days to tackle the challenges of pastoring in the Caribbean. So you spoke about the commissions.
I think if I'm to add a little, if I'm to add just a little on this, I mean, there were moments in our session that we went into breakout groups, and you know, it was done on the level of the provinces, and we were able to look at the issue as a province, you know, and to dialogue on what challenges we are having, what we are doing with our people, so that we could keep hope alive with them. And I thought that was very, very significant.
Right, right. So on the spiritual day, the bishops were able to take time to pray
Yeah,
individually, reflect
certainly.
individually.
Yeah,
And on the study day, they were able to gather in groups of provinces to reflect on
exactly.
pastoral issues.
Certainly.
Great, great. And so you started sharing with us what occurred on the business days, and one of the highlights of it for you was the amalgamation of the commissions from 14 to 9. You made a list of some of the commissions and their work. Can you have been given a task to head one
Yes.
of that commission? Can you share with us the commission that you will be heading and how challenging it will be for you to head that commission, that particular commission?
Well, it is quite a big commission. Um, of course, I'm still learning how to go about it. It's called the Communication Commission. And in fact, the way that we have organized the various commissions is that there are two key commissions that will help us as a conference to situate ourselves within our ministries, and um, seeing how we can collaborate in our efforts to carry out the ministries in the various dioceses. And the two key commissions are the new evangelization and communication. And both of these are like umbrella commissions that would affect all of the other commissions. So it seems to me that I would have my work cut out for me in terms of this. Communication is the thing today. Um, with the advent of social media and everyone wanting to experience things instantly. Even right now, we are on Facebook.
Mhm.
People following us right away, listening to what we have to say, a live interview. So communication is the thing today. And more and more, we're coming to realize as a conference that communication has to be key to our pastorate, our evangelization, and absolutely everything we do as a conference.
Well, it seems to me that you are taking the lead in leading the Communication Commission in doing this Facebook Live conversation. Uh,
Well, when you're thrown in the deep end, you have to swim, eh?
And taking on this new commission on communication, I hear in your voice and in what you're saying that you will be challenged to learn new skills and new areas. How challenging it will be for you.
Well, certainly. In fact, I kind of accepted initially to do this because I see it as a learning curve for me. I want to learn better how to communicate. And especially with the use of social media today, when everybody have everything at their fingertip, that you get stale very, very quickly. And if you're not with it, along with the people, then you get passed by. And I think the church should not allow itself to be passed by, because if we have the good news, we have to share the good news wherever it is at, and to preach in and out of season, you know. So I see communication as key to the pastoral work of the diocese, of the region as a whole.
As a whole, right. Were there any particular highlights that you like to share? One or two highlights of the 5-day plenary? Any personal highlights or group highlights that you'd like to share with our listeners, just to give our listeners a feel
Yes.
of what really takes place at a conference when bishops gather together? Any particular highlight that you
Yeah.
think our listeners would be interesting to hear about?
Well, one thing we have been exploring is the possibility of uh, a regional synod, uh, an AEC synod. And of course, we have delegated Bishop Harvey to put together an exploratory team that could begin to work on that. And of course, he has given at various meetings, and of course at disciplinary meeting, certain reports on where his at in terms of exploring that possibility. And even in our conference this year, we had certain really, really lively discussions on that possibility, whether we look at it from a point of view of one issue, one particular issue that we want to explore and bring forward as a synod, or we want to look at various issues that pertain to the mission of the church in the Caribbean. Really, it seemed to me that according to our discussion, that the area of education is coming up high on the list of possibilities. We thought that Catholic education is becoming more and more important for us to look at as an issue, because on certain levels, we could say that we're losing ground in communicating the value, the precious jewel that we have in Catholic education. So we need, it seems to me, what is coming in the discussion is the need to revisit that, our role as a Catholic community in the whole area of education. So it seemed to me that the issue was going in that direction. The other important aspect, I think, even in that realm, is the question, the new theory, the new notion of synodality that was deeply spoken of. I mean, in fact, as we're thinking of having a synod, to move with that mindset of what we call synodality, that is an understanding of a process whereby we include everybody, all stakeholders in the process, so that everyone learns together, everyone carries out their role as they should in the process, so that the end product and the process of getting to the end product are equally important. Right. So, to develop that method is certainly a challenge. And as far as I can see it, it is a conversion process. And I say this because our method of evangelizing, of ministering, we have very often been used to the pyramid model, where we have a small group of people on top and the majority of people below, and we have a top-down kind of relationship with them. Synodality really calls for everyone making their contribution at not necessarily at an equal level, because everybody has a different role, but to include everybody in the decision-making process. And that in itself is a conversion experience, as far as I'm concerned. I need to learn it. I'm sure you need to learn it too. And the bishops agree that it is the way to go.
Right. Can you share with our listeners on Facebook Live the role of listening
Yeah.
in this process of synodality,
Mm.
the importance of listening, what role does listening play in this whole process? Can you share with our listeners?
Well, I mean, obviously, if you just do without knowing what you're doing, you will always fall in the deep end.
Mhm.
So listening to people, listening to the person in the grassroots, listening to the aches and pains, the concerns, the preoccupations of people at all levels is important before decisions are made. Or,
Mhm.
so listening plays a very key role in the whole process of synodality.
Right. And I suppose that's why you made mention earlier the need for conversion,
Yeah.
converging, changing the way how we build relationships, because oftentimes relationships is we find listening is absent, deep
Yes.
listening is
Yes.
absent in our relationships. And
And it
so
is, yeah, and it
Mhm.
is something that has to um, operate on all levels. And
Mhm.
I stress the fact that it is a learning process. It's a learning process for us bishops, and so that eventually the dioceses in the Caribbean will adopt that method, and the pastoral councils in the parishes will adopt that method, so that it becomes a process of conversion right across the board, from top to bottom. You know, maybe there's no top and bottom. There's is I suppose is an even playing field. You'd say.
I'm happy that you spoke about, you highlighted the possible Synod of the Antilles
Mm.
coming up in the years to come, because I'd like to dovetail that with the assembly, the ecclesial assembly
Right.
that will be taking place at the level of Salem. Salem is the equivalent of the AEC for South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. And they too have an ecclesial assembly similar to a synod
So,
planned for the end of this year, November 21 to 28. How will the Antilles Episcopal Conference, how would be involved in the Salem
yeah.
Ecclesial Assembly?
Well, we would be familiar with other ecclesial assemblies that Salem has had before, such as Puebla, um, um, Aparecida, and
Mhm.
also Santo Domingo. Is that what it is? Right.
Yes.
So we would be familiar with these that we have partaken in. In this one, which is scheduled for November, we have been invited to send representatives to discuss and to help understand where they are at and how we can work together as as Salem and the Caribbean, the Latin American bishops and the Caribbean. So I see it as also a learning process, uh, coming to grips with the common issues that we have in the region, in Latin America and the Caribbean. Um, uh, we have in the past always had a very good relationship with the Latin American bishops, and they always want to include us in their understanding of the mission of the church within the region. So it will be a learning process, a learning experience. In fact, just incidentally, you and I on Monday we have to be at a Zoom meeting with Selam, with the leadership there, so that we could explore, we could understand more fully how we can participate in the assembly. But it is a moment of dialogue, a moment of, or it will be a moment of dialogue, a moment of seeing or of charting a course together for the region, for Latin America and the Caribbean.
Okay, thank you very much. So the bishops ended their annual plenary today. They must be exhausted emotionally and otherwise, but
Well,
despite exhaustion, I'm sure they have dreams and they have hopes for their respective dioceses and also for the church in the region. Can you share with our listeners what are some of those dreams and hopes coming out of the annual plenary meeting of the AEC?
Well, I pointed out the whole thing of synodality. I think that is a method and a notion that they're ready to embrace. And of course, we're ready to explore what it means for us. Because as I was explaining some time ago, that the very process is the reality itself. Then we dealt with the whole area of Caritas and its role in the region. Caritas has become very key to disaster management, especially even right now with the volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The motion, things are put set in motion through the help of Caritas and its other accompanying organizations. So it is one of the ways that we see that serving the Caribbean through Caritas helps us to see how we are an arm of love for the church in the Caribbean. I think in terms of hopes, we are all looking forward to a Caribbean that is more united. I must say that I have, over the last years, enjoyed the kind of camaraderie that exists, that is developing deeper and deeper among the bishops. I think we are certainly well on the road to improving that. And I think the regularity of our meetings, as you would know that we have slightly changed our structure in the recent past. And COVID has facilitated that a bit in the sense that we meet much more regularly than we did before, whereby decisions that are made at meetings are executed in a more timely manner. And I think we are, as bishops, we really want to continue to improve that so that we will better serve our people as a region.
Wonderful, wonderful conversation, Bishop Malzaire, about the recently concluded annual plenary meeting of the bishops of the Antilles Episcopal Conference. Just to inform our listeners, the Antilles Episcopal Conference consists of French, Dutch, and English speaking dioceses of the Caribbean. So thanks for that, for sharing the ideas, your thoughts that came out of this meeting. And I'm sure the people of the Caribbean look forward to hearing from their respective bishops and also to the growth and development of the Catholic Church in the region. Bishop Malzaire, thank you very much for this conversation. May
You're
God
most
bless
welcome.
and God bless the work of the Antilles Episcopal Conference.
And I know that as secretary of or general secretary of the conference, the bulk of the work you had to do it. Thank you for all the work that you're doing with us as general secretary. Thank you very much, Don.
To God be the glory. God bless.
All right, God